Alright, welcome to the follow-up to the Top Hat build. This is where I show you how to load FPP on the SD card and program the Pi as a controller and set up your hat so that you can either use it standalone, as I did at the Mega Mini, or you can integrate it with your show. So let's get started. We're going to first download the SD card formatter. I will post a link to this program. We're going to download its version 5.01, and we're going to download it for Windows or Mac, whatever you need. And this is going to format the SD card. You want to use this over formatting with Windows format. This is made to optimize the SD cards better. So we're going to download this, and then we're going to go to the Falcon FPP releases. This is the latest release, stable release, the 4.6.1 as of today, May 26th, 2021. I know they're working on the 5.x, but let's just go with the 4.61. So we're going to look at the FPP releases, and we're going to come down here and we're going to download the Pi image. They also have the BeagleBone Black image, but we're going to focus on the Pi image. This is 1.2 gigs. I'm going to click and download this. And then we're going to download BalenaEtcher, which is going to take that image file and put it on the MicroSD card. So you're going to come here and you're going to download it for Mac, Windows, whatever your operating system you are using. And when we have them all downloaded, I've created a folder called FPP under my Christmas stuff, and I have the etcher and the SD card formatter and the image file. So we're going to first get the SD card. So I have the SD card. I have the SD card out of the package, so it's brand new, and I have the adapter. And of course, if you don't know how to put them together, you can go right like that, and then you're going to put it in the computer. So you're going to install the SD card formatter. I've already installed it. You're going to double click on this and run through the setup, and then you're going to go run SD card formatter. And that'll bring up, and you want to make sure that the G drive is the SD card. This one's a 16 gig SD card. I'm going to quick format. So I'm going to click format. All data will be erased. Yes. And it shows the information FAT32 and how much space is available. And click OK and close that. So we've downloaded the latest image file. It's 4.61. We're going to have to unzip that. So you can right click on this, and I'm going to extract here. Now I have WinRAR on here. If you don't have that, Windows 10 natively has a extract files, so you can do that. I'm going to extract it here. It's going to expand to a 4 gig image file. So it takes about a minute to decompress. And it's done. So you have the zip file still, and then you have the image file that got extracted. You're also going to install the BalenaEtcher. Again, already done this, so I'm not going to do it again. And then you're going to run Etcher. I have a shortcut down here because I do it so many times. Alright, and we're going to flash from file. And we're going to find the folder that we have the image file in. I'm going to choose the 4.61 Pi image. Open. You can verify that this is the G drive. So that was the drive letter that mine showed. Yours might be different. I'm going to flash this. It takes about 6 minutes to flash. Then it goes back and verifies the image, so it's about 8 minutes total. And as it finishes up, it comes up with the flash complete. And we're going to close Etcher. So go ahead and remove the SD card adapter from your PC and remove the MicroSD card from the adapter. So the card has been burned. We're going to stick it in the Pi. Take this off. Alright, so got the Pi. I've released it from the zip tie so I can get to it a little easier. I'm just going to stick this right in the Pi. Alright, so I have everything hooked up. So once we get everything together and programmed, it's already hooked up to the hat, and it will do some live controlling of the hat from xLights. Put this up here so we can. Okay, so I'm using a battery pack. I'm not plugging it directly in. So I'm going to plug this in, turn it on. Alright, and the Pi player is booting to FPP. We're going to give it about a minute and a half to boot. Alright, the Pi 0, if it's a Pi 0, not W, it will require a micro USB to network adapter. That would be one of these. So this will plug into the USB port on the Pi, and then you're going to plug in a network adapter so you can communicate with it. Since this is a Pi 0W, you can use that same micro USB to network adapter if you want to plug it in directly, or you can connect to it by tether. So you use the Wi-Fi on the PC or the phone to connect. Alright, so if you click on the Wi-Fi, see the FPP. We're going to connect, and the password was Christmas with a capital C. Next. No, I don't want to allow it to be discoverable. Oh, we are connected to it. So here we're in the Falcon Pi player. And what we first want to do is get this on the Wi-Fi or set it to an IP address with the USB to network connector. So since this is a Pi 0W, we're going to go to status network. And what you want to have is a static IP address for this. You always want these controllers to be the same IP address so xLights can find them every time you start your show. So for this we have the wireless LAN interface. I'm going to change this to static. And the IP address for mine is 192.168.1.219. If I hit tab, it fills in the net mask and the gateway. Some people have a gateway, some people don't. It depends on if you're going to communicate with this outside your network. And then you're going to set up your wireless settings. So my wireless setting is Nighthawk. Now it didn't automatically detect the SSIDs. You're going to have to type this in manually. But mine is Nighthawk. put in your password, and then you're going to update the interface. And it tells you check your DNS, make sure this is the defaults for the 8.8.8.8 for Google, or if you have your own DNS you can put that in, but you don't have to. And then a host name, we're going to set this as a unique name on the network so that all your controllers with FPP are not called FPP. So I'm going to name mine, I always call it P0 for Pi0, and then give it a number, which I'm just going to give this one a general outlier number of 9, and then W for wireless. I have a Pi0, 1 wireless, 2 wireless, and then a 3 that's not wireless, and then 4. So the W tells me that's wireless. Description, I can put that in there. And I'm going to save this. And then when you save it, it's going to want you to reboot because now you've changed the host name, you've changed the DNS. So you're going to reboot, but I'm going to show you one other thing here. Later on, when you come back in here, this tethering SSID that we connected to so we can configure this, if anybody knows this password, as I found out at the Florida Mega Mini, some people were having some fun and connected to my hat because I never changed this. So they can connect to that tethering and make changes to any of the sequences I had in my hat. So they were changing it around. I didn't know it. But thank you for letting me know, because this is a security issue. So you want to come in here and change this. You can still call it FPP, but for the SSID tethering, but change the password to something more secure so nobody else can get in it that knows about FPP. So I'm going to reboot. Okay. Now as that's rebooting, I'm going to go back on my network because this information here is now I'm going to put it on my Wi-Fi. So I'm going to go back to my Nighthawk. I'm connected to that, so I'm going to test. I'm going to go to Google, make sure I can get to the internet, and I'm good. So I'm back on my Wi-Fi and internet. The Falcon Pi player's rebooting. I'm going to do a ping -T at a command prompt. 192.168.1.219. And it looks like it's up and running. So I should be able to click on status control and status page. Actually, I take that back. I need to stop. And I need to now go to the direct IP address or the name that I gave it. So I'm going to go, I like using the direct IP address, 1.219. And there we go. So now we're in the Pi player. My network is all set up. It's connected to my Wi-Fi. I'm actually using this now through my Wi-Fi. So at this point, I'm going to go back to the status page. And the next thing you want to do is change your storage settings. You want to expand your file system so that you can now use all 16 gigs of that SD card, or however big your card is. Now I went with a 16 gig because there's not going to be much data stored on this. Even if I put show sequences on, or I integrate it with my show, with the way that xLights splits out the FSEQ files to each of the devices, it normally only puts the data required for that device in the FSEQ file for that part and puts it on that player. So 16 gigs should be good for most people, but it's hard to find the smaller sizes. Go with a 32 or 64, give yourself a little more room. So we're going to click on Grow File System. And it's going to say it's going to require a reboot. Do you wish to proceed? Yes. This is going to expand the storage. It'll come up and say, all done, please reboot. So we're going to close this, and we're going to reboot. Either up here or down here, it's the same button. I go with the one that's in red, and I click OK. And I bring my command prompt back up. And now the Pi is down. FPP is not active, it's rebooting. I'll just keep an eye on this. When it comes back up, it'll start replying again. And this one may take a little extra time to reboot because it's going to be doing the file system expansion. So it takes an extra 30 seconds to a minute to finish. And this is the IP address of my computer. Only when you start seeing this, it'll come up in a second. It's not completely timed out, but it's not completely up and running yet, but now it is. So now it's getting my reply from 219. So now I can come over here, status control, status page. It's now communicating with it again. So the next thing I want to do is change some FPP settings, primarily the time. So I'm going to set the date to today, and the time I can manually type in. It's 12:07 a.m. So I'm going to put in 00:07. And you can enable NTP and put an NTP server. You also want to choose your time zone, which is, for me, America, New York. Settings have been changed. Restart FPPD. Now this is a quick restart of the daemon. Alright, so we've changed the time. The time should be right up here. Well, it is not. So it dropped itself back to yes. Well, that's right. 27th. Well, let's enable the NTP. Zero 07 00. Actually, it's 08 now. And then we're going to reboot. Bring this back up. Sometimes the time is a pain to get synchronized. Time there shows the right time, but now it doesn't show the right day. Let's see what happens when it comes back up. Since it's just the Pi, it doesn't have a Pi hat on it with the battery and a real-time clock. It'll save the information on the card, I believe, but let's click back on status page. It's always a good place to jump back and start. We'll go back to settings and time. Still has the wrong day. It has the right time. We can force set the date to 27th. I normally sit here and wait a second because sometimes when you change these settings, it'll come up, restart the FPPD. I'm going to go back to the status page. We do have the time here, May 27th, 9 a.m. 9 minutes after midnight Eastern Daylight Time. Alright, so we've got the clock set. Alright, so what we're going to do next is set up the input-output for the channel outputs on the Pi. So we're going to click on the input-output, channel outputs, and then we're going to go Pi pixel strings. We're going to keep this as a Raspberry Pi WS2811X. I'm going to add output, and it's going to automatically put the 2 ports that are on the Raspberry Pi. And port 1 is the top portion of the hat, so I'm going to put hat top. Port 2 is hat bottom, and I just shorten it to BOT so it stays the same length. Start channel for now is going to be 1. And we're going to do 512 pixels on the top. And then we're going to, so the end channel is 1536, we're going to go 1537 plus, so it's the end channel plus 1. Another 512 pixels. And then these panels that I've seen so far have all been GRB for the color order. So I'm going to change those, and then I'm going to change the brightness to 5%. If you need it any brighter than this, I'm not sure why, unless you're going to be showing it during the day, but even still, I believe everybody at the Mega Mini had no problem seeing what was going on. So you got your descriptions, your GRB, and your brightness. And I'm going to save this and restart the FPPD. Now at this point, I can go to the testing, display testing, and run a test. Changes from start channel 1 to 3052, I think it was, or 72, and then do a test. And all the lights should light on the hat. We're going to skip that. We're going to go to the status page. Looks like it went offline. When I restarted FPPD, it probably restarted the unit itself. So I'm back at the status page. It's back up and running. And I'm going to change this FPPD mode to bridge. And what that does is it will allow me to directly talk to FPP and the Pi through xLights. Eventually we will put it into standalone mode if you're going to run it as a standalone hat. You're going to put your sequences on it and let it run the scheduler and the playlist standalone. Or we're going to put it in player remote if you have other FPPs, or using xScheduler to push out the information so that you can use it during your show. And it will show what you want or what you have in your sequences if you program it into your hat. So you can use the remote or master if it's your only one. But most likely you'll be using your remote or standalone. But right now we're going to have it in bridge mode. Alright, so we're going to go into xLights now. And I have it on my layout screen. I do already have a top hat, so I have one set up. This is my top row, and this is my bottom row of the hat. And where I have it here, right at the end of the driveway, if I stand here during my show, anything that happens in the sequence where I programmed this to actually do something with the whole house effect, it will actually work right where I'm standing at the end of the driveway. Now I don't always stand at the end of the driveway. I'm walking around and talking to people, handing out candy canes and parking people. So, but if I wanted to just kind of back up and just stand there, or put the hat down or put it on a mannequin, it would actually function right here. So we're going to go to the controllers tab, and we're going to add an Ethernet controller. All right, so the name of this that I want to give it is, for me, is Pi0-9W. If you can look over here, I have the 1W, the 2W, the 3, which is my Christmas tree, and the 9W. I'm going to shift this up so it stays with my Pi zeros. The description is going to be FPP on Pi 0 W top hat. All right, it's going to be active. I'm going to go vendor is FPP. Model, I'm going to choose a Pi hat, even though it's not a Pi hat, but that's how it functions. I'm going to come back up here and auto layout models and auto size. And I'm going to give it the IP address. So 192.168.1.219, and this is why you want static IPs. In here I can put the PZ-9W, or I still like to put the IP address 1.219. Starting universe. Now if you look at my universes over here, you want to keep room for the maximum amount of universes each controller can take. Now the Pis at most will take 7 universes at 510 pixels apiece. The way I have my Pi set up is 211 starts at 1100 universe, 212 starts at 1120, 213 is 1130, and so this one's going to be 219, so I'm going to start this one at 1190. So you're starting universe 1190. And I'm going to save this. And I'm going to the layout tab. From here, since I already have a hat created, I can click on this and copy and paste the top and copy and paste the bottom, but I'm going to show you how to create one from scratch. You're going to choose the matrix. You're going to create a new matrix, and you're going to create your drag and drop. And I always start each prop with what it is: matrix dash garage. So this big matrix here is the garage. This is matrix on my matrix 48 by 10 on the tree. So I got 48 by 10 here. This is my right stone matrix. So I keep everything so I know what the matrices are. So this is going to be matrix hat top. But since I already have a hat top, I'm going to call this hat top 2. Yours would be hat top. And then it's going to be, direction is going to be vertical. Number of strings 1. Nodes is string 512. Strands is 64. And I'm going to come up here and expand this out. Shorten it down. I'm going to move it where my other matrix is. I'm going to put it above the other. Let's get a right angle here. All right. That's a bit wide. So I'm going to go back, and this is in 3D. 2D, it's a little different. I couldn't tell you how to do it in 2D. I'm sure it's a little easier. So I'm just going to verify my settings because I have them written down. 1, 5, 12, 64. And actually my start location is going to be top left. Okay. So I'm actually going to move this up so you can see it better. And now that I have that, I'm going to This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is going to be 8 by 64 across. Because it's 2 panels, 32 and 32. So it's 8 by 64. So what I'm going to do here is click on it, Control C, Control V. Eventually it will come up with another matrix, identical. So this is going to be my bottom. Line this up. I'm going to rename this hat BOT. For me it's going to be -2. Same settings. I'm going to save this. So that's going to be your matrix for your hat that you're going to work with. There's other ways to do this. You can have it all as one. I like to keep it split so I can separate out top and bottom, or group it together so I can have the whole thing, so I can have effects happen on both. I'm not a xLights master by any means. Look to Ron for that stuff, but this is my way of doing it. If you have a better way, by all means, go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go back to controllers, and I'm going to be clicked on the pie, visualize. I'm going to find my matrix. Hat top goes on the port 1. That's a hat top 2. That's going to be your hat top, and this is my hat bottom. All right, close this, save this. Now, I haven't had any luck with the pies in this state actually automatically uploading the input and uploading the output. So this is where I manually do some of this stuff. Now, if you notice my channel, it's going to have, it's created 7 universes, and it's actually using 3,570 channels, even though we're only using 3,072. So my first, you want to get this first number here, 92,455. I'm going to go back into the pie. I'm going to go input output setup, channel outputs, pi pixel strings. So we're back here. And just to go back there and look, 92455. That's going to be my start channel here, 92455. 512 pixels still. End channel is 93990. So now your start channel on the next port is going to be this number plus 1. So 93991. And it's going to auto calculate the rest out for 95526. Of course, that number is lower than 96024, but basically xLights has used up that whole universe and occupied those channels so that they're not used anywhere else. So if we wanted to add more pixels to it, we could, and we don't have to do anything extra, just tag it on to the end of the last panel. So that's saved. The layout is saved. And at this point, if we come in here and we go to sequencer, create a new sequence, we can do an animation, 40 frames, done. So we're not going to worry about the music right now. I'm actually going to go back to layout because I need to show you. We're going to click on both the top hats, the hat top and the hat bottom. Again, this one's the number 2. Right click and create a group from selections. And this is going to be, I call all my groups GRP, matrix, top hat. I think it's called top hat. Come up here, I already have another one created. No, okay, so it was just matrix hat. So I call this one top hat. And it shows hat top and hat bottom, and I want to come down here and move the hat top to the top and the bottom on the bottom. Save that. Go back to the sequencer and right click on any of the display elements and edit the display elements. And we're going to create a new view called hat only. And in the hat only, I'm going to have both of my hats here for now, but I'm going to come down here and add my group matrix top hat. Move that up, So I now have my original hat with the top and bottom, and then I have my new top hat, which I'm working on to show you, with top 2 and bottom 2. So I'm going to close that, make sure my view is hat only, so it's easier to work with. And now anything I do on this top hat, top 2 or bottom 2, is going to show up on the hat. I can insert layers. So that's the group insert layer. This is the individual panel layer. So include one layer here. So if I come up here and grab the marquee and drag it to my group, that's going to put a marquee. Yeah, okay. So you can see it in the preview window here, the model preview. So that's going to put a marquee around all the panels. And if I click on the light bulb, it's going to prove me wrong. I don't think I saved. That's what it was. I have to save that. Restart FPPD so the channels are correct. As soon as this restarts, should start the output. There we go. Always those little things you forget to do. So there is my, what did I put on there? The marquee. Now what I want to do is just uncheck that and put a red marquee and make sure my color is correct. So my color is correct. With the red, we got blue and purple. So my colors are showing up correctly, so I did set up in here that GRB is correct for my panels. It may be different for yours. You're going to have to test that out. Go back in xLights. So now I have a marquee. And it should be functioning. Actually, I'll throw it on the multicolor here. And then I'm going to, I can drop a fan on that also in the group. And then I'll run the fan across itself. Let's throw another arm. No, not the size. We want the thickness. We want to make it a little thicker. And then I'm not going to move anything right now. I'll throw it in 3D so it looks a little better. And I'm just doing some basic stuff here. Let's do a little twist. No, that's a little too much. There we go. We have the fan with the twist. Now let's do some text. Do I want text on the entire both panels, or do I want them individually? I think I'll throw them individual. So I'm going to take a text and put it on the top. Spread that out a bit. I'm going to put, this is my hat. The font, I use Arial 9. I use the XL font 6, 5x6 thin. And movement I'll put left. So now this is my hat. It's scrolling, but you can't really see it too well. So let me put it in a different color. Let's do light blue. There you go. This is my hat. I'll throw another text box in the hat bottom and open this up and put lights on Thunder Road. Movements. Slow it down a little bit since it's a little larger. And we'll get both of those. I'll come back here and make the thickness a little less, so a little easier to read the text. Maybe a little smaller as well. And I can make this run back and forth like I had on my hat before. This is my hat, Lights on Thunder Road. Let me speed this one up. All right. So that's all nice, fine, and dandy. I'm going to stop the output. Stop. I'm going to render. So it saves the FSEQ. I'm going to save this sequence. And my show folder for 2020. Top hat experiment. Save. And then either from here or from the controllers, I can go Tools, FPP Connect. It finds all my FPPs. This is my tree. I don't want to upload anything to my tree. This is the hat. I don't want any media, so I have that unchecked. And I'm going to sort by modified date. So this is the last one that I uploaded, so it was checked. I'm going to uncheck that and check my top hat experiment and upload. Super quick. It's a really small FSEQ. And I'm going to go back to Falcon Pi Player and go to Content and look at my file manager. And there's my top hat experiment. So it's been uploaded to the Pi. I'm going to go create a playlist. I'll call it top hat. Come down here. Top hat play. And then I'm going to choose sequence only and the top hat experiment because that's the only thing I have on here. And I'm going to add that into the playlist. I'm going to save that. So now I have this top hat playlist saved. I'm now going to go to Scheduler. I'm going to add a schedule. And by default, everything set up here is set to run for, looks like in 5 years. Every day from midnight to midnight. Immediate repeat interval and stop graceful. So it's going to play the top hat playlist. I'm going to save this. I believe it's going to start automatically. Okay, let's go look at playlists again. Top hat, should have top hat. Randomize off, sequence only, top hat, verbose, blah, blah, blah. So we want, look at scheduler again. All right, let's go to the status page. Oh, that would be why, because we're not in standalone. So I'm going to drop this in standalone. Again, always that one click. And there we go. The playlist has started from the schedule. It's just it's a 30-second playlist, or sorry, 30-second sequence, but we only put like 5 seconds into it, so that was my fault. So it's only going to play that 5 seconds, and then once it's the 30 seconds, it'll repeat, and you'll see that same thing again, and it'll stop. So there we go. So it's going to play that for 5 seconds and go blank for 25 seconds. But that's what the sequence says to do, so that's what it's doing. And like I said, if you wanted to make this work with your show, you would set this to player remote or player master, depending on how many FPPs you have. Set, schedule wouldn't have anything to do with it, because your show, your X scheduler or your other FPP master should talk to it and let it know when to play those sequences. But you're going to have to go through, you're going to have to open up your old sequences. Let's go to Thunderstruck. And in here, I'm going to go to my hat only. And I've got nothing on the hat. So if I want to add, again, a marquee, and just put on here, now playing, oops, that's the wrong one. Let's zoom in because I can't grab that. Did I put it in? Okay, so let's try this again. There we go. I'm zooming in a bit much now. All right, so I put that on there, and then I'm going to put some text. It says, I'm going to like us on Facebook. And then put some text down below here. It says, now playing Thunderstruck. And move that left to right. And if I save the sequence, re-render it, and then upload it to all the controllers that require the sequence, including the hat, that will show up while I'm out there in handing out candy canes. And as long as the top hat is in Wi-Fi range and receiving the data, it'll interact with your show sequences. So I hope this helps you get your hat built on the previous video and now programmed with FPP and your sequences.